EA Sports Network's NFL Quick Highlights are presented by Vapid Motor Company. Buy a Vapid today.
Rams, Ravens. Both sides came into this one trying to win their 5th games of the season, as both of them wanted to move to 500 in this Week 11 matchup in a stormy one at M&T Bank Stadium. The Ravens would take the field first, led by Joe Flacco, who had 2,178 passing yards coming into this one, and he would add to that early, finding Dennis Pitta for 2 straight receptions for 26 yards to set them up inside Rams territory. But on 1st and 10, that Rams defense would break through the offensive line like butter, as they would bring him down for a sack. Then on 3rd and 14, they would try and bring the pressure again, as Flacco instead would test his arm, throwing this one up deep to Steve Smith Sr., and he would drop the ball. Janorius Jenkins with the coverage there. They would have to punt the ball. Austin Davis would take the field for the Rams, as he had 180 yards passing, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions in his first game against the Chicago Bears. And he would start off like Flacco. Started off pretty well with a catch to Jared Cook for 21 yards. Then on 3rd and 7 though, Baltimore would break through that offensive line like butter, as he would be brought down for a sack. They would have to punt the ball as it was 4th and 16. That pressure continues throughout this game, as Joe Flacco though would prevail, as he would find a reception to Aiken, as he would go down the field off to the races. Kamir Aiken with the first score of the game would make it 7-0 Baltimore on the 67-yard catch and run. The Rams though would respond, as they started playing some smart offense. First handing it off to Todd Gurley to get down to the 48-yard line. Then a few plays later, on 3rd and 3, after Davis changed up the play, he would wait and find Stedman Bailey for the reception to go inside the red zone. Then another few plays later, Davis would change the play after reading the defense and hand it off to Trey Mason, as he would punch it into the end zone for a 4-yard rush. And that would tie things up at 7 at the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, that pressure continued, as Rodney McLeod Jr. would bring down Flacco for the sack. And that pressure, of course, continued on the Rams side of the ball after the Ravens punted the ball on 2nd and 10. Davis would back up to pass, but he would have another sack brought down by Chris Canty. That would lead to a field goal for the Rams, though, after a gain of about 7 yards. And it will be 10-7 Rams at the end of the first half. A very defensive matchup filled with lots of sacks in the first half. The second half was pretty much the same. But the Rams, though, would start off pretty well. On 2nd and 7, they would find a reception to Brian Quick, and he'd go off to the races. He would get brought down at about the 26-yard line, but he would get hurt on the play with a shoulder strain. He would be fine, though, after the game. On 2nd and 18, though, lobbing it up to Kenny Britt, Austin Davis would throw his 3rd interception of the season and give the Ravens back the ball. But what would they do with it? Not much. On 1st and 10, Flacco would feel the pressure and get sacked not once, but twice. The first time was by LaMarcus Joyner. The second time would be a combination of Robert Quinn and Nick Fairley to bring them down inside the 10-yard line. They would have to punt the ball, of course. On 1st and 10, Austin Davis on offense once again in the 3rd quarter here would try and put his team on the board again. He would find Stedman Bailey to go down the field, and he was looking very much better than that first interception of the game for him. As on 1st and 10, he would hand it off to Todd Gurley, who would put them inside the 10-yard line on that rush. And then a few plays later, on 1st and 10, it would be Davis under center, handing it off to Gurley once again, and Gurley would go off to the races and break through the defense for the touchdown to put the Rams back on the board. They would be up 17-7 at this point. What would Flacco do, though? He would do this. He would find a reception down the field to his man in Marlon Brown. Then the drive, though, would lead to not much. It would lead to a field goal, as his running back, Lorenzo Terrafero, would end up getting stuffed. Now 20-10 in the 4th quarter. That pressure still continued, as it was causing chaos for Flacco. Robert Quinn would get his 10th sack of the season there. Then on 3rd and 12, the pressure would come once again, and it would be a tip pass somehow caught down the field. That would lead to a 4th down situation. And on that 4th down situation, Robert Quinn would almost get sack number 11, and Janarius Jenkins will pick off Flacco. As this one was a very defensive matchup, the Rams would dominate to win this one 23-10. Overall, there were 15 combined sacks, while the Rams moved to 500 for the first time since week number 4.